Washington, with Lee McCarthy, Fred Knight, and Charlie Neal.
Good evening.
In this section, we're going to be talking about the preservation and reformatting of videotape. The types of institutions that have video include schools, fine art museums, archives, libraries, media art centers, and the list goes on and on. Single-channel video is a single projection of a videotape onto a screen. In fine art museums, you may find installations. These are called multi-channel or time-based media. The first magnetic recordings, which used wire as their recording medium, date back to the late 19th century, but wire recordings were not placed into commercial use until the 1940s. Tape as a recording medium was introduced in the early 1950s. The first videotape appeared in 1956, and the first videotape machine was the AVR 1000. So the machine you see behind me is a 2-inch quadruplex. It was developed in 1956. It's the first videotape format, and it was popular in use for broadcast until the early 1980s. From 1956 until the early 1990s, most videotape formats were analog. And what you see with the videotape formats is they can be cassette, they can be cartridge, or they can be reel-to-reel. The cassette and cartridge formats you find in the 1970s and through the 1980s. We have a lot of different types of formats. Since 1956, there have been over 50 different formats. They can be either analog or digital. And you'll find all of these types of collections in different types of archives, libraries, art museums. We find collections that are reel-to-reel, cassette, or cartridge. And these items could be, have different format names like 3/4-inch U-matic, 1/2-inch EIAJ, Betamax or Betacam, Betacam SP. All of these different formats require their own playback machine. The life expectancy of videotape is 10 to 30 years. Coupled with format obsolescence, an archivist must choose both the lifespan and the obsolescence of the media to make decisions about preservation. Over the years, videotapes have been developed to be smaller, to be more portable, and that really contributes to format obsolescence. Machines become less expensive to build and are targeted to different audiences, consumers or educators. Very few specialty shops exist that can rebuild heads, that can find the parts for you. A lot of these old machines have rubber gaskets, other items, organic items that decompose, and so we have format obsolescence of the tape because there aren't enough machines or the machines were discarded, and we have format obsolescence of the machines themselves as they deteriorate. Collections managers have some tools to use when they want to rate their collections in terms of obsolescence. I've given ratings to different videotape formats. They can go from extinct to critically endangered, to endangered, threatened, vulnerable, and lower risk. A 2-inch quad is going to be critically endangered. A digital Betacam is going to be lower risk. Videotape is a laminated structure. It's comprised of a base, a binder, and a pigment. The base is polyester, and it's very stable. The binder is polyurethane. It is not very stable, and it gives the videotape a life expectancy of 10 to 30 years because it deteriorates so rapidly. The pigment can be comprised of one of 5 different metallic particles. Gamma ferric oxide is the most commonly found particle in videotapes. Most of your analog videotapes will be gamma ferric oxide. It's very stable. Metal particle and metal evaporated tapes are typically found on digital formats. Metal particle tapes are typically very stable, although earlier formats of metal particle tape might deteriorate. Metal evaporated tapes, however, are known to be somewhat unstable. You should check your digital tapes to see if they are made with metal evaporated tapes. International standards for the long-term storage of videotape indicate cooler and drier, but never below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The deterioration factors for videotape are heat, high humidity, mechanical stress, and dust because it's acidic. Tapes should be placed onto grounded shelves with the record tab removed. The environment should be dust-free. Tapes should be in a rewound or wound position, and they should sit upright like books, never laid flat. And tapes should always be clearly labeled. In addition to finding machines that will play back the large number of existing formats, each format may have been recorded in one of three standards: NTSC, PAL, or CCAM. These usually vary according to the place of origin. The standard used in the United States, for example, is NTSC, or National Television Systems Committee. PAL is used in parts of Europe, and CCAM in Europe and the Far East. Machines are generally engineered to play back only one standard. Before one considers reformatting video, it's important to understand a few basic concepts about the video signal. Videotapes can be analog or digital. Analog and digital formats can be composite or component. Component has better color rendition and is preferable. Digital formats can be standard definition or high definition. High definition requires more storage space when archiving. Almost all digital video uses some kind of compression, even camera originals. The compression format is the kind of compression that is used. For instance, MPEG-4 is a compression format. The compression ratio expresses how much actual video information is stored versus how much is interpolated upon playback. The lower the ratio, the higher the quality of playback. However, less compression requires more storage capacity. 4:1 as a compression ratio and 4:2 as a sampling ratio are acceptable for preservation. While some archives and libraries are still choosing to reformat their collections in an analog format, the trend is increasingly to go to digital. A continuing discussion in the archives community is whether the digital signal should be lossless or lossy. Lossless compression is preferable because it means there is no loss of information when the item is digitized, but it is very difficult to find lossless compression in the marketplace right now. The primary consideration when selecting a videotape format for preservation is that it is of the same or better quality than the original. File-based formats, such as MPEG-4 or JPEG 2000, can be stored on CDs, DVDs, or hard drives. Here at the Smithsonian Archives, we're using a hybrid system to digitize our analog content into Motion JPEG 2000 digital files. Motion JPEG 2000 is a lossless file, and we put it onto an LTO3 tape, which is a data tape. The Smithsonian Archives doesn't have the capability to play back many different tape formats here on site, only the most common ones, such as U-matic and Betacam. Unusual formats are sent to an outside vendor for reformatting. At the Smithsonian Archives, when we prepare our tapes for reformatting on site, we clean them using an RTI tape check cleaner. We also use a tape head cleaner to prepare and maintain our equipment. All tapes benefit from being cleaned, especially tapes with sticky shed. Here you can see the dirt and oxide deposited on this cleaning tape by a tape that had sticky shed. The polyurethane binder, when it deteriorates, causes something called sticky shed syndrome, where the tape sticks to the machine that it's playing on. Baking to remedy sticky shed syndrome should be avoided unless there is no other choice. Preservation copies should all be slated and have bars and tone at the head. Access copies can be made available on DVDs or VHS tapes. Old and obsolete videotape formats look different than contemporary video formats, and that's important to keep in mind when you're reformatting video. A videotape created in the 1970s or earlier is going to be very different from a videotape that was created today.